Well, depending on your time zone, good morning or dobrý večer and happy Father's Day to all of the fathers out there. My name is Linda Jaňourová. I'm the president of Sokol San Francisco, and I'll be serving as today's moderator. On behalf of Sokol San Francisco, I'd like to thank you all for making the time for being here and helping us welcome our very special guest. Before we begin, though, I'd like to highlight a few items. Please note that today's gathering is being recorded. If you speak on camera, you agree to being recorded. You can, of course, speak off camera, but we encourage you to be on video as this is intended to be primarily a conversation between us and Mr. Kratky. When you're not speaking, if you could please mute yourselves, that would be great. Today's format is going to be a little bit structured in the beginning. We have some general topics that Mr. Kratky and I are going to cover, and then we're going to go open it up to a conversation with you where it's going to be a Q&A session. And again, you'll have an opportunity to either type your questions into the chat field or ask them live if you wish. And finally, if you're experiencing any audio or visual issues, please let us know as they arise so we can try to tackle those right away. So now, without further ado, I'd like to pass the microphone on to Mr. Richard Pivnička, our Honorary Consul General of the Czech Republic here in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, to introduce our featured speaker.
Thank you, Linda. Actually, our speaker know each other for several years through the meeting of honorary consuls throughout the United States, and we've met with him more than once and learned a great deal, a number of things that we would have never learned otherwise. And I want to thank you in advance because you always bring something new to the table. And we welcome you here to sunny California. Come for a swim.
Thank you very much. Actually, it will be my pleasure. Good evening from Prague. Thank you, Richard. It will be my pleasure, to join you in California. I think, we have almost the same temperature probably as you have in California, but we are still missing like more swimming pools here in Prague. So we are still making ready for the summer, but not still really completely ready. I saw that actually the firemen here next to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are trying to fill in the swimming pool that actually it's more like a reservoir for the summer heat, but thank you very much. Very pleasure.
Perfect. Thank you from me as well, Richard. Mr. Kratky has visited us twice before, once in person before COVID and once virtually during COVID. But I think it'd be good to remind ourselves of what exactly Mr. Kratky does as the special envoy for expatriate affairs. It's such a distinct title. So if you could tell us a little bit about what you generally do for the expat community, I think that'd be a great place for us to start.
Okay, thank you, Linda. I will be as short as possible, and I try to be very clear to how to explain, the positions that actually I have at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I am a special envoy for Czech expatriate community and expatriate affairs. It means that actually we are something like a bridge between you and the Czech government. We are not the only institution who cares about the life of the Czech expatriate or Czech people living abroad. But I think that we are like one of the key one, because of course, thanks to the embassies and thanks to the general consulates and thanks to the honorary consulates, we can receive quite a lot of inputs from outside and to communicate these inputs actually to the specific ministries at the Czech government. It helps actually the situation on both parts, because as you know, the Czech Republic tries to keep in touch with the Czech community living abroad. We try to identify the specific needs of these people living in completely different situations than people who live actually in Czech Republic. And we try to adjust the part of the Czech foreign policy towards these needs to satisfy the practical need of the people, but as well to promote the Czech Republic actually abroad. This is very briefly the explanation of my function. Of course, that many of us, and especially the presidents of the Czech schools abroad and Czech actually Sokols abroad, etc., they know actually my department as a kind of department that is distributing the money. Of course, this is one of the function we are trying to support through the main program, the work and the activities that you do abroad. And this is actually probably one of the topics that actually I would like to highlight during this meeting, because as you know, probably in the mid of the summer, you are about to apply for the programs, for the financial programs for the next year. I'm still giving you one actually comment concerning the situation concerning this year, because probably none of us actually, none of the Czech schools and the communities have not received the financial support for this year. And this is one of the topics that actually I would like to explain when I will be addressing exactly this issue concerning the financial support. Then we of course try to be in touch with you, and this is exactly the reason why I am here with you today, because this communication, this direct communication, it means the direct communication between you at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs can speed up a lot of effort that we made on both sides, and we can communicate probably better, you know, the information and the needs of the people. I know that probably many of us would like to talk to me about the possibility of the long distance voting, what's concerning the participation of the Czech people living abroad during the parliamentary elections or the presidential elections. So this is another issue that actually I would like to give you some comments tonight. Briefly, my department is not only communicating, but it's as well coordinating activities of different actors in this field of the foreign policy. So it means, for example, we are in regular touch with the Ministry of Education. We are in a regular contact with the Ministry of Interior Affairs. And as well, we need to have kind of support what's concerning the legislative power. So our very important partner is a standing commission of the Senate of the Czech Republic. I mean the specific commission dedicated to the contacts with the Czech people living abroad.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Of course, if you have further questions, again, please feel free to chat those, save those till the end. I was going to ask you a little bit about how your function may have changed during COVID. So, you know, I recall from the first time that you came here, you were sort of traveling throughout all these communities all over the world. What has the impact of COVID been on Czechs living abroad and Czech communities abroad? Are there trends that you're seeing? Did a lot of Czechs move back? Was there an increase in citizenship requests? If you can generalize, what was the other side of it? So there's you, and then there are the Czech communities. What were you seeing?
Thank you for this question. This is something very interesting, and I would like probably to start with a statement that despite our preoccupations that we had at the beginning, because you know, COVID was kind of shock for everybody of us, and we could see that many of the activities that actually you were actually promoting abroad, but the activities connected with the personal meetings, what actually during the COVID was not possible. So we were quite afraid about the situation if, how to say, the Czech compatriots movement can really survive such a very unexpected change that was forced, and no one was actually prepared to deal with it. True that actually we were very positively surprised that actually the Czech community abroad were very proved to be very flexible. And pretty soon after the first shock, many of the activities were transformed on kind of online forms, at least especially activities that were not actually possible to omit completely, like, you know, the teaching of the Czech language at school, etc. And I would say that actually this trend to concentrate more on online activities helped the Czech community to be united globally. So it was for the first time that actually I saw that this kind of what I saw before as kind of nucleus is small places of the local activities were reconnected globally, and Czech people abroad were able to articulate kind of common needs that they had before, but they communicated before, you know, these needs separate way. And now they were able to organize together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs international conferences, debates on the practical issues that our people living abroad have in common all over the world. So it was like I would say like main features of what we lived. If you asked me if the number of the Czech people diminished abroad during the COVID, it would be kind of natural answer to the COVID situation, because once you are limited in many of your activities, professional activities, free movement, etc., it's natural that people, they tend naturally move back to their homes. And it happens as well in this case of the Czech people living abroad. But I would say these changes in numbers are not really substantial. I would say, you know, probably very well that Czech Republic doesn't hold like official statistics, how many Czech people live abroad, because the policy that was established after the 90s was about to give maximum freedom to anybody to move, to travel, to live, and to come back wherever he wants, how he wants or she wants, and when she wants. And this was actually it's something that is probably not completely comprehensible for other countries, because when I had like international meetings with my colleagues in Italy or in France, where, for example, France and Italy, they have like an obligation. I mean, there is on the citizens, French citizens or Italian citizens living abroad, they have to report themselves to the closest embassies that they are living abroad. We don't have this, and we probably won't have this because we didn't want to bring any kind of reminiscence of the police state that existed here before '89. So we are working more with kind of qualified esteem, that we actually try to get the information through our consulates, but as well with kind of cross information with other institutions, like, you know, like the Czech National Bank, etc. So actually we know, for example, that the first year of COVID, about 10,000 Czech people living abroad moved back to Czech Republic, and the rest of the people, usually they changed one country for another. But you know, honestly, 10,000 people in what we are estimated today like 600 Czech citizens living abroad, and about almost 2.5 or more Czech people of the Czech origin living abroad. 10,000 people is nothing. So actually, I would say that neither in this sense COVID marked too much the situation of the Czech people living abroad. Sometimes actually it happened that especially the young mothers, they moved to Czech Republic because they were actually preoccupied about the education of their children, and so they preferred established in Czech Republic. And sometimes actually we lost very active members of the Czech foreign community abroad, for example, in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. So some kind of damage was done during the COVID, what's concerning this personal movement. But in global numbers and in global issue, I would say actually that you managed to survive the situation pretty well.
Well, that's good to hear. And I think we think of it the same way anecdotally, sort of what I'm hearing and seeing, same thing, maybe handfuls of families here and there, but it happens every year for various reasons. So I'm not sure we felt a big impact here in the Bay Area. And to your point about the flexibility of the Czech expatriate community, I think that's exactly what we all realized very quickly we had to do. As everybody did in every industry all around the world, you would just had to adapt if you were going to survive. So we certainly got creative. Well, I want to talk a little bit about one of the main functions that you said that you have, which is, of course, this distribution of the funding for the schools and organizations like Sokol San Francisco. If you could talk a little bit more about that, and then sort of what the timeline is for this year's funding and so on, that would be great.
Okay, so I would like to talk about this because I think that this meeting that we have today, this debate, it comes in right in time, because you know that at the end of the month of July, you are supposed to prepare your program of activities for the year 2023 and to send it with the request of the financial support through the general consulate in Los Angeles, in your case, but in generally, I mean, through the consulates or through the embassies that corresponds to your territory. That actually these embassies are evaluating your plans, and they are giving us kind of suggestions to which actually measure or to which level actually satisfy your demand for the financial support. I would like to not only to recall the deadline that actually that is the last day of July, but I would like probably recall some of rules that actually I sometimes have the feeling that I repeat very often the same rules, but as I say, repeating is never enough, because how this rules works, how this rule work. You know that actually you have to present your activities in anticipation of 12 months, actually more than 12, actually with anticipation for the next year, but still even this year has not finished. And this is unfortunately any situation when you have to deal with the government, because of course the state has to prepare its budget, that actually the budget has to be approved, evaluated, etc. So actually I know that this situation and the rules, they don't probably respond completely to the practical needs and to the practical situations that you live, because you know that actually how the life is changing your plans, and that actually there's something that what you have been planning I don't know a month ago doesn't have to be at the end, you know, for external reasons realized at the end actually, or produced during the year 2023, for example. But this is actually that I would like to tell you something. Please do as everything is perfect, and if the world works perfect way, and if this happens that actually you can't make possible realization of one project that you have, or two projects that you have actually chosen the year before for the year, you just write a small informal information to the general consulate in Los Angeles, in your case, and you will inform and you will ask if the funds that actually were appointed for this specific program or for the specific activities could be used for a different kind of activities. We are not so strict, so that actually you don't have to feel yourself to be so much responsible that actually what you planned has to really be done exactly as you planned, because we know that you were planning it 1 year ago. This is one rule. The second rule is actually that it happened especially during the COVID times, because many of schools at Sokols were preparing some specific activities that actually were probably kind of personal activities of the social activities, and they didn't want to lose these activities. So they were trying to postpone these activities for the next year. You can do it. You can do it, but still I suggest you more warmly to use the money that you were already received for that particular year for different activities, and to ask another funding for the actions that you are postponing for the next year. I mean, this is the best way, because this creates kind of fluent use of the financial funds, and it creates kind of really security that the activities that we are trying to support the specific year already happened, or happened different kind of activities, but the most important, that something happened. This is really important for us, and this is important as well for the Ministry of Finance, because if we are trying to postpone the money and to explain that actually this action was not actually possible to realize this year, but it will be possible to make it possible in the next year, the state doesn't like that actually are moving money from year to another. So I don't want to say, please be careful how do you spend your money, always for the main objective that actually you are, you have our trust. If we give you the money, you have our trust that you are spending this money for the way actually it's supposed to be, but spend it in time that is actually prescripted for this financing. And even do something different, but do it regularly. It's better than to make like gaps and then to spend this money in another year. So this is my message for next year, and I hope actually it will give you kind of relief of responsibility, because I know there is a huge responsibility to prepare the program and then actually to keep an eye on it. How does it work? If it's really produced, how it was but it's better to do it this way than actually to transfer the money from one year to another. And third one, this transfer, if you already done this actually transposition of the money or transformation of the money from one year to another, you can do it only once. So once the money has been already transformed, for example, from the year 2021 to 2022, you have to spend them with any force in this year 2022. It's not possible to make this actually translate of the money for another year. So actually, in this moment, you have to look at your accountability and your accounting, and to ask your accounting manager and ask him or her, tell me what kind of money did we actually were using from the last year, and this money had the priority to be used this year because they can't be transformed for another one. So this is like the kind of very how to say friendly way to say how to use the money, and how not to really run into the troubles what's concerning the accounting revision at the end of the year.
That's very useful for us to know, and I'm glad that the president of our local Czech school is also here, hopefully listening to this. I know that we've had our sort of challenges with trying to figure exactly some of these questions out about what to do this year, what to think about for next year. So I'm glad there's flexibility, and you're telling us to dream big, assume things will go a certain way, but that there's understanding from the government side that if things don't go that way, we can provide supplemental information to say that, things ended up differently and here's why, and hopefully that'll be acceptable. So I'd like to move on, if possible, to a different topic, and this is a topic which has always been
Linda,
yes.
may still I interrupt you?
Of course.
Even it's not like an issue that is very how do you say pleasant issue to me to explain. I would like maybe still, concerning the finances, to explain the situation this year.
Of course.
You already asked, for the finance for the year 2022 the last year. In autumn, in November, this actually decision of the Minister of Foreign Affairs was approved by the Czech government, and prepared actually for the beginning of the year to be realized in the state budget. But as you probably know very well, we have we had new government, and new government came with quite a different what's concerning approach concerning this the budget. And this revision of the state budget actually touched as well, the money that we were actually making ready to send it to you. So we were really fighting quite hard all this springtime when actually at the beginning of April, the new budget was actually of the state budget was announced. And we tried to really to fight to maintain as much as possible the financial support for the Czech communities. So this is only the explanation why you haven't received so far the money for the activities to support the activities in 2022. This next week, finally, the new how do you say division of the financing is actually given to government to be approved, and we will do maximum to you to receive the money at the end of the month of June or the beginning of July. This actually very important information that, of course, these financial funds you can use actually, I mean, backward, and you can use for financing even the activities that you were probably organizing since the beginning, since January 2022. So you will receive the money for the year 2022. We apologize for this delay. This delay was really for outside of the control of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it's concerning not only the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and not only this kind of financial support. And we will try to avoid to make the maximum effort to avoid the situation next year. But you will receive the money that actually you were actually promised to be given. This year, it won't be as much as it was last year. There was a reduce about 30% in the state budget, but you still received more money than actually you were receiving in the past years, because, as you know, we were doing we were making like a big effort to double the financial support to the Czech communities abroad. What really happened actually for the first time in 2021. This year it will be a little bit less, but we will try to keep the high level of the financing for the year 2023.
Thank you very much for that explanation. And certainly we have been checking in with Los Angeles, and I think it's good for us to know why. It's good for us to know that it is coming, so we can continue planning as we had hoped. So we appreciate that. Thank you. So with that, if it's okay, to move on to another topic, and again, this is a big topic that's always on the minds of our community members, and that is voting. If you have any sort of update for us about voting abroad and where things currently stand and what the outlook might be for the near term.
So the issue of the distance voting, or the correspondence voting, as we call it in Czech Republic, because the project that actually it's concerning the distance voting, it's concentrated on the post voting. There is a law, there is a bill of law, and there is now actually in the Czech lower chamber, in the Czech deputy chamber. This law has been proposed by the Senate of the Czech Republic, of the upper chamber, but of course this proposition had the full support. As you know, despite the fact that even the last government had like this correspondence or distance voting in a kind of governmental preferences, at the end, actually nothing happened. This present government has again among their preferential actually goals, this goal to approve the long distance voting for the Czechs living abroad. True is that in the Czech Republic, there is not the completely agreement in all political parties on this issue. You can imagine why, because historically, actually, it can be proved that especially the Czechs abroad are voting, or their political preferences goes only to some kind of political spectrum and not to another. So it's kind of political issue to understand that actually we try as much as possible as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because we look at this affair not as a political issue, but as a kind of legal issue. We try to inspire in neighboring countries in Europe. I think that I would be only repeating statistics that probably you know, that 21 of 27 members, actual members of the EU, they offer long distance voting to their citizens living abroad. And the approach is different in the Czech Republic. I think that actually it's a question of time when actually these political discussions will clear up the space, I mean, in the Czech Parliament. I still believe that actually we are standing a step, just a step before to be approved this very important instrument. That actually we call it like kind of how to say aid instrument. It's the same way, you know. For example, if you vote in the Czech Republic, where actually you as a participant in the elections, you can find your voting post in any 5 kilometers distance from your address. And in the case that actually, if you are really not able, for healthy reasons, etc., to go personally to the voting post, you can still call, you know, to the commission, and they will bring, you know, like kind of how do you say, the specific tool, and they will come to your address actually, and you can vote from your home. This is, of course, technically this is impossible, but we try to offer to all people abroad who really, for objective reasons, can't go so far to vote, or for practical reasons to embassies or to the general consulate, this kind of instrument. And there is nothing else. There is nothing else so far invented and approved as a functional instrument that is a post-voting. Do you know, the electronic voting would be a very difficult issue, and this is what I say you very clearly in this debate, because for many people, electronic voting it's too intransparent. There is no control over the transparency, who can vote, if really that who had the right to vote, were voting, etc. So we are now talking about the post-voting. It would mean that actually you would receive a kind of kit that there will be like two envelopes, and you would be putting your actually electoral preferences into the inner envelope that would be enclosed into the external envelope. So actually your right to your secrecy, to your privacy of your vote would be maximally respected. Only that actually the embassy or the general consulate that would be sending you this kit, they would know that actually you replied because you received. So actually there is no need to fear about that. Actually, there could be more voting abroad. That actually more than envelopes that would be sent to the electors. So this is kind of balance of the systems, they are protecting the well-balanced system in the Czech parliamentary and presidential elections. In this moment, we are talking about presidential and parliamentary elections. In the original proposition that was not actually at the end moved to the Czech parliament was as well the participation in the European elections. Actually, you know that actually this is as well possible, especially because if you live in the country, because the Czech Republic is a member of the EU, you live in the USA, so actually you would have the right as a Czech citizen to participate in the European elections. But let's say that practically there is much less interest of the people to participate in the European elections than in parliamentary or presidential elections. We are trying to get in touch as much as possible with the political parties they promised to you during the 3 debates that they were holding with Czechs living abroad in this kind of online conferences before the elections. And they promised, you know, to approve the correspondence voting. So we recognize that there is kind of a huge opposition among the political parties that are now in opposition against this specific instrument. But I still believe that the reason will win, and that this instrument that actually makes the democracy perfect. Because if the democracy should be actually perfect, there can't be like a big group of people excluded from the participation in the elections. And this is exactly how it's understood by the countries as Italy, as France, etc., and as Malta, for example. Malta doesn't have long distance voting for its citizens living abroad, because, you know, there's about 300,000 people, Maltese people, as a population of Malta. Not so many are living abroad, and Malta is a very small state, so it doesn't have so many embassies and general consulates to be able to organize, you know, the long distance voting abroad. But for example, Malta offers to their citizens to cover financially their return by plane to Malta during the elections. So, and it costs quite much less than to organize, you know, the political elections for Malta abroad. So actually each state finds its own measures and the instruments to give the full right to vote to its citizens abroad. Only it depends on the conditions of each country. And Czech Republic, we tried, you know, to evaluate several technical possibilities. Still, the best and the most economic possibility, the most economically, how to say, effective tool, it's really the post-voting. And I can see this is the only political compromise that probably in this moment is possible to make in Czech Republic. And we will be following very keenly, as we did it so far, this issue, and to give to our politicians the best technical and expertise reasons why the Czech Republic should have this instrument as well.
That's wonderful, and I think I didn't appreciate until you responded the level of evaluation that goes into this. And of course, you've got to consider things like privacy and again, just the technical aspect of how voting can be made secure and private. And so anyway, so I appreciate that answer, and I'm sure a lot of citizens here do as well. I know I'm always personally very impressed when I read about and hear about people flying to Los Angeles to go and vote. I mean, it's just a patriotic move. Really moves me. Just a gentle reminder for those folks who aren't muted to please mute yourselves. With about 20 minutes left, I do want to open it up to questions at this point. I have some that we're getting through our chat that were emailed to us But if there are people who would like to interact with Mr. Kratky while we have him, that would be great. Again, you're being recorded. You don't have to be on camera if you don't want to, but it's an option that we welcome. I'll see if there are any hands go up now. If not, I'll move to my list of questions from our viewers. Does anybody have a question they'd like to ask? All right, it does not appear that way. Oh, Simono, please go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Kratky. I hope that you hear me well. Greeting from lovely sunny California. I have a little question. It's about the passport, driving license, and all the Czech documents. So far, everyone needs to flying to the Czech Republic to do any kind of paperwork for ID cards and birth certificate. It will be soon some kind of service for the Czech native and the families and relatives who will have the opportunity to look up some kind of office or setting where they can go in person and do that here in the US, some close place in California, or there will be some other locations. Thank you.
Okay, I'm very glad actually that we moved to these practical issues. Because as well, you know, we understand the future of this Czech foreign policy towards the Czech citizens living abroad, especially as a kind of service to the Czechs living abroad, and I mean, to make them the life easier abroad, and to make it possible to get in touch with the Czech Republic as much as possible. What's concerning these documents, there is quite a move towards actually giving wider service to the Czech citizens. You know that, for example, you can, of course, you can make your Czech foreign passport from abroad, only, of course, because you need to give like a digital prints. So actually, it means you have to really to go personally to the office who actually owns this actually equipment, you know, to take your footprints for the passport. It usually takes a little bit more because actually you have to move, you know, these doses from actually from United States to Czech Republic, from Czech Republic back to United States. The question of facilities is that, for example, the passport you can now receive, you don't have to go back to the general consulate in Los Angeles, but you can receive it through the honorary consulate. So it means you can receive it back through Richard Pivnička if you would like to. True is that this service is still quite slow, and we are aware of this. For this reason as well, you know, many Czechs, they go, especially during the summer vacations, to Czech Republic, because you know, you can speed up this process in the Czech Republic, and you can make your passport in 24 hours if you really want to. In Czech Republic, you have to pay something more, of course, than usually actually you are supposed to pay for the new passport, but it works. We know that actually this COVID situation that blocked many of people abroad caused kind of not very pleasant situations, that in some cases these documents expired during this time when people couldn't move back to the Czech Republic. And the offices as a general consulates are very often trying to best, you know, to give, you know, the Czech to the Czech citizens kind of temporary passport to get to the Czech Republic, to make ready, you know, their documents in Czech Republic if they really are in a hurry to have these documents back. What's concerning the driving license, it's an issue that honestly it's already on the table for about 2 years before the COVID started. That was like a movement it was not possible so far actually to make like a Czech driving license different ways that actually in the Czech Republic. And now I think it was, if I remember it well, there was like a movement. If it's not now, so actually we are counting it will be pretty soon possible. So this is another issue. And what's concerning, you know, the ID, it's a little bit a very specific issue, something like post-voting, because, of course, the ID is something that actually you should make in the Czech Republic, because actually it depends as well what concerning that the institution that issues, your ID, Czech ID, it's a local institution, it's not a ministry. So once this specific function, it's not in the hand of the how to say the state ministry, and it's in the hand of the local institutions, it's a little bit tougher. But I think that even this discussion was actually on the program to see what is possible to make with the IDs. And I think that all these issues are very well observed in the Czech Republic, this practical need, and I think that we will make really the real move towards the modernization of these issues. It's true that I can't speak, and I wouldn't like to speak, on behalf of the consular department, but the consular department makes quite a big effort in the progress of the, how do you say, digitalization of the services. So many of things that actually that usually used to be presented, in a kind of paper form, now will be actually possible to load it in a kind of digital form. So actually, this should speed up the process as well.
Thank you.
Did you have a follow-up question, Simona? I know you raised your hand again, but.
Yes, please, because I have the opportunity to travel to the Czech Republic. One of my friends, Mr. Bubnik, where he passed, our Czech national hero of ice hockey. And at the time I did my ID, and it's takes quite long, and for 5 years I need to keep the ID in the office somewhere and pick up after 5 years, because I was not able to fly back. This is the reason. And I know lots of citizens have this kind of problem, because if the passport expires, they cannot fly. They need lots of documents from matric and all this kind of paperwork, which have time limitation. And if it's expiring, they need to apply and do it again. This is kind of like Sokol. And I would like, on behalf of all my friends who are in needs to have the Czech ID, ask if there will be some kind of call for action to speed this kind of processing. Thank you.
We will make the maximum effort to this. The situation has changed, and especially, how do you say, the pressure to speed up this process actually grew up as well, especially, the Brexit, because many of the Czech citizens living in Great Britain actually from overnight actually stayed in the state outside of the EU, and we realized, how the EU actually it's really helpful concerning, many practical issues. And what we are missing right now, it's make it more fluent as well for these people who actually live, despite the fact not very far from the Czech Republic, and they're still in the contact, but despite of this, in the third, extra European country. And of course, that actually the situation of the Czech people living in United States, it's a priority as well.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you both. I wanted to just let you know, Mr. Kratky, that the president of the local Czech school says thank you for your previous answer about the funding. She also added that your support is very much appreciated, echoing sort of our feelings about the funding, and then your explanation of what's happened this year. We did receive a question related to passports and citizenship. This asks, who is eligible to obtain a Czech passport and apply for Czech citizenship? Can descendants of Czechs who immigrated to the US in the early 1900s apply? And I'll just say briefly that I'm a consular officer. I've been assisting Richard Pivnička for about 20 plus years. I can't believe that. But I always advise people to go to the website of the consulate of the Czech Republic in Los Angeles. They have a great page that explains who is eligible, how to apply, which forms to use, which supplemental documentation you'll need. how to go about submitting your completed package, so to speak. So that's a great starting point. Mr. Kratky, if you'd like to add to that, and it has been broadened, by the way, the eligibility for citizenship was in recent years expanded to descendants of Czech citizens.
Yeah, definitely. The question actually concerning the citizenship, it's a question that actually we can see, you know, the rise of the interest of the people concerning this issue. Of course, you know that the Czech Republic has liberated, and as well, you know, what's concerning the United States, the possibility to double citizenship. And many of the Czech people already applied for different kind of actually moments, in different kind of moments for the Czech citizenship. There is the law. It's number 186. 186. It's a law that actually tells you in very detailed information. It gives you very detailed information which category of citizens, or you know, the how do you say, eligible actually future citizens you are, and what kind of documentation you have to prove. Usually, of course, you can if you can prove that actually you were born to someone who was the Czech citizen, or actually you are the grandchild of someone who was the Czech citizen, you still have quite a very easy way, you know, for the proclamation to get your actually citizenship back. Not all the categories. There is very specific issue, and you probably will remember the year 2019 when actually new actually how do you say, new version of the law 186 was made, that actually one of the categories of the children who were either children or the grandchildren of people who moved to United States between 49 and 69, when, for example, the Czech communist regime imposed very difficult condition to the children, that actually if you these children couldn't get the citizenship automatically from their parents, but their parents had to apply to the Czech communist institutions for agreement. So actually many people, of course, they didn't do it because they were afraid about you know, another negative influence of this decision, for example, for the wider families in the of the people who stayed in the Czech Republic, etc. So these categories, step by step, are actually included into this general group of eligible how to say, future citizens of the Czech Republic. But I really, if we don't want to go into the very small details, I would suggest you really to consult the web page of either of the honorary consulate or the general consulate, or the consulate of the Czech Republic in at the Czech embassy in Washington, where actually you have step by step described all the situation, the category of the potential candidates, who you are, and what kind of documents you are supposed to supply. Many of Czech people who are not able to find the Czech citizenship, to prove the Czech citizenship, at these, you know, I mean, with their ancestors, they ask for something what we call the confirmation. How do you say, of the to be a member of the Czech Czech ethnic community abroad. So it's a last institution, like a last issue in the moment that you are not able to prove that anyone from your family had the Czech citizenship. So in this case, you can ask for this kind of confirmation of your ethnicity. this ethnicity, it's like a halfway, but it's very important, because in the case that you would like to move to the Czech Republic, you will be given the permanent residence directly, only on behalf of this document. So actually you would step actually directly to the second highest category, that actually the next step would be only your actually petition for the Czech citizenship. But of course, in this last step, we required, like 5 years of staying in the Czech Republic or less. Sometimes it depends on the conditions. But really, the citizenship from the permanent residence, it's conditioned by the residence, by the physical residence in the Czech Republic. But this is the issue that probably really I would give you more misleading information, for example, in your particular case, because your particular case has to be really seen directly by the consul at the Czech consulate or the Czech embassy.
Thank you very much for that detailed answer. That's very helpful. And Jana has provided a link to both the consulate in Los Angeles, and it looks like one in Manchester, with some general information. Denisa has added, and I can concur with this, that contacting the consulate general in Los Angeles directly, and I would advise via email. That way you have everything in writing. There's a lot of material that you'll need to gather. Some of it may need to be translated. Other pieces may need to be notarized. So it's good to have it all in a nice list in an email. And like Mr. Kratky says, it's all very individual. I doubt many situations happen where two people have exactly the same, grandparent was born here and then they lost citizenship. I mean, these are fascinating sort of logic games sometimes that I bet Los Angeles has to work through. So email them. They have a team of people who will respond to you. And that's the best way of going about it. Now, I am conscious of the time. It's 11 o'clock now. I realize that some people will have to drop off, but Mr. Kratky, if we can borrow you for another 15 minutes, there are a few more questions. Would that be okay?
Yeah, for me, it's perfect. Yeah, of course.
All right, wonderful. So there was a question asked just now about people who are working in the USA. They pay taxes in the USA. Do they need to pay taxes in the Czech Republic as well?
So even this actually, it's a question that actually doesn't belong to this general response, to me. You know that actually there are several of the bilateral agreements actually excluding like how to say double taxation. And what's concerning the residency, if you are staying in United States, I would say, more than half of the year. So actually, usually this is the question. More than 180, and I don't know, now don't ask me, 86 or 89 days a year, you are supposed to be the tax resident in the country where you are spending most of your year. Then actually there are activities that are directly taxed from the activities on the territory where you are actually exercising these activities. So there are several factors that actually enters into this category, and there is probably the special US taxation what's concerning the real estates. I remember that all the European banks, doesn't matter that only in Czech Republic or but abroad, in France, in Spain, in Italy, they ask you if you have any kind of real estates in United States, because actually this is, especially the question of United States, who is really keeping eye, on the patrimony that actually it's supposed to be taxed in United States. So I don't really want to go into this technical details. I can, if you would like to, because we are presiding like an interministerial commission, where actually about 8 ministries, other than the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, are sitting at the same table. I can ask this kind of question to my colleagues. But honestly, I think that the response will be very pretty similar to that actually that I gave you. You have to really look at each of the text kind of taxation and look if there is any kind of bilateral agreement that would be covering this tax that actually you would like to be exempted in one or another country because of your residence in another. But still, like the golden, how to say, golden rule, look actually at your situation and count your days where in which country you spent most of the year, and probably in this country you are the subject of the taxation.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I think that's helpful generally. So I think there was a question asked that's somewhat related, and it was a question that was asked via email earlier this week, and it had to do with inheritance laws for beneficiary. I'm not sure what the exact question was, but perhaps if somebody is set to inherit either property or some sum of money from the Czech Republic, can you advise maybe where they should look for rules pertaining to that, or if you have a general sense of how these things work, can you talk about that?
So what's concerning this kind of issue, I think that actually that the Czech Republic has a kind of very practical system that if you are supposed to be the entitled person that should receive something from the heritage of someone living actually in the Czech Republic or the property in the Czech Republic, it's probably you would be actually contacted directly from the Czech, how do you call them actually in the United States? Notaria?
Yeah.
Notar?
Yes, yeah.
And or even this the law court that actually is approving this kind of stuff in the moment. On the other side, we received quite a lot of very interesting information when actually the institution in United States are looking for actually the relatives of the Czech people who descended actually in United States actually, and they are looking for them in Czech Republic. So actually it's like a two-way system that actually it's working, I would say in practice pretty well if really comes the situation to be resolved. I still can recommend, if you have any specific doubt, that with us work several Czech lawyers who are experts in inheritance law, actually in Czech Republic and abroad, and they will be, I think, very happy to give you, the information, particular information that you are looking for. I say it because actually it's a very similar situation. I'm just giving you kind of general, how to say, knowledge about how to act, what to do and what not to do. But what's concerning the practical and specific situation, I would really suggest you eventually, if you can address me your question, and if I can see there is a specific question, technical question, I will be happy to send this information or this request to someone of our legal collaborators who will give you, like important and really, how do you say, concrete answer as well. In this case, in this situation, I would like to bring your attention to one very interesting issue that probably I try as many people can know this information. In 2014, entered into the power the new Czech civil code, and this civil code actually established that there is so-called non-identified property of in Czech Republic. I mean, on the territory of the Czech Republic. And because this non-identified property concerns in many cases the Czech people living abroad, there is a list of this property that has no owner. If this property won't have an owner till the end of 2023, so actually you have something more than 1 year and a half, but 1 year and a half. So this property will actually be confiscated and actually by the state, because for more than 10 years, no one of the owners were able to, how to say, to declare their ownership to the property. So because the states want to have as well like a clear account what's concerning, you know, the ownership of the property in the Czech Republic property. Please, this is another issue that I would like to raise your attention to. If you feel that you might be one of these owners of the property, it's time to contact either our office, and we will send you kind of technical advisor, or directly someone who is the notary or who has the international practice concerning, you know, this in Czech Republic, and to ask him if this actually property, if this issue can actually concern as well to your situation, because this is, I think that the state really doesn't want to have this property, and the state does maximum to identify the owners. So if you are supposed to be one of the eligible owners, don't lose your property if you don't have to.
That's fascinating. What I think I'd like to do is we always follow up with an email about a day later, you know, with a recording, a link to the recording. And if it's possible, I'd like to include in that email an email address where individuals can either connect with the attorneys that you mentioned, and then also if they do think that they are eligible to receive some of this property, with an email address that they can write to saying, you know, that they think they qualify. So we'll, you and I can put that together into a follow-up email. So again, if this is concerning you, I'll tell you that the honorary consulate just last week had an inheritance question, and now I'm so glad we know that there are attorneys here who specialize in this, because again, this was a strange circumstance with a non-Czech citizen who thinks that they might have rights to inheritance in the Czech Republic. So very good for us to know. I want to open it back up to folks asking questions out loud. I've got another couple of questions. Anybody who'd like to raise their hand, who'd like to ask sort of in person, I welcome you to do so.
Please do it, because actually I'm pleased that actually this is exactly the direction in which actually I wanted to move to the practical issues, because I think that this is the future of the connection to the Czech Republic, and we would be pleased actually if your connections would be working, how to say, as much as fluent way as possible.
Absolutely, we certainly agree. It looks like Simona has another question. I wanted to see if anybody else who hasn't had a chance. It looks like you're on, Simona. Go ahead.
Yes, please. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I will take shortly. Before the COVID, we traveled with my husband to beautiful Czech Republic, and we were very interesting to buy lovely property in center of Brno. Was about 22 million Czech kron. We put a deposit for it, and the price went from 22 to 26. We have cash in 22. We went to the bank if they can give us the difference, and they told us they do not give people who are residents in other countries mortgages for the Czech properties. Following years, about 5 years later, we tried purchase a house in Czech Republic. I was looking for a resident to buy because I am from Czech Republic, from beautiful Brno, and I like Brno. And again, we went trying to pursue the bank, even though that our income is very good, very nice. We have very good income also as a business company. and they were informed us that we are not eligible to get any mortgage in Czech Republic because our income is in United States. Even though we are eligible, ready to pay in a 2-3 years, we can pay for this. And I have lots of friends who had this similar experience. They go to the commercial bank and they told them, go to the Vienna and ask them for the mortgage in a Czech Republic. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very interesting issue, but probably as you feel, the banks are the private institutions, and actually it depends on the policy of the banks actually, who is actually, and which bank is giving or not giving, the mortgage, to the people who are not residing in the Czech Republic. I know that many people actually, that these banks sometimes finance, the opportunities to buy the real estates in another country than actually than in the Czech Republic. I mean, to the Czech citizens. But honestly, this is something honestly out of the reach of actually the Minister of Foreign Affairs to be able to influence, because this is quite a very really practical and private policy bit of the banks actually, what's concerning who actually is eligible and who is not eligible in their actually conditions. I would suggest you probably to follow the recommendations, and if this is not a Czech bank that is willing to give you this opportunity, do the same opportunity with the bank from Vienna. It's the best recommendations that I can give.
Thank you.
I thank you too. I believe that's actually all the questions we have. I want to give one more opportunity to our audience members to chat their questions or to email them to us, to raise your hands. Mr. Kratky, you're so thorough. I think you've answered absolutely every question of the expats in the Bay Area. Very impressive. All right. Well, with that, we hope that you've enjoyed this session and learned a little more about the resources for the Czech community living abroad. And if you like this session, please subscribe to our mailing list at the bottom of our Sokol San Francisco homepage, where you can learn about events just like this one and so many more. We have some wonderful events taking place this fall, in particular, our Czech Day of Culture. It's a festival style one-day event. We are trying to convince Mr. Kratky to be there in person with us. So let's hope for that, where we can continue this conversation and have an in-person discussion and a Q&A session with him at that point. And again, we will be following up with an email with a recording of today's session and some of the resources that were mentioned today. So with that, I leave you to enjoy the rest of your Father's Day Sundays, and thank you again.
Thank you very much. And really, I appreciated this opportunity, despite the fact that I would prefer, to meet personally with you. But as you can see, even this online form can substitute from time to time what is missing in the personal connection. But I still hope that actually this after COVID time, we will recover as well, our habits, to meet more often personally. And I'm really looking forward to meet you personally, wherever actually it should be.
We thank you to our audience members are thanking you. We felt like we've had a champion for our community and a channel for communication, certainly. So we appreciate all your time with us, whether it's virtual or in person. Thank you very much for spending your Sunday evening with us.